Believe it or not, Scott Boras was a minor league baseball player. He played second base and center field in the Chicago Cubs and St. Louis Cardinals organizations. He only played for 4 years, and he never got above Class A. He did have a knee injury, which caused him to have to retire. But I think because of the guy was already a wheeler and dealer when he was in the minor leagues, because somehow he got the Chicago Cubs to pay for him to attend law school. And he attended law school at the University of the Pacific. Now he also got a doctorate in industrial pharmacology, and he's also specialized in medical litigation when he was practicing law. So it's kind of an interesting background. So, a lot of people are wondering how he might have gotten started with his agent status, I guess. Well, he made lots of friends when he was in the minor leagues, and he just started representing them, and his former teammates. Boras' first multi-million contract was a 5-year deal with the Toronto Blue Jays, and it was a former teammate of his, Bill Caudle, and he retired 3 years into the deal at age 31 due to his shoulder, but he got the Blue Jays to sign him for $7.5 million. So, now Scott Boras has started his corporation now. So he's living the American dream. He's taken the American dream and molded it to his skills. But there's a lot of people right now in baseball who don't like Scott Boras, and that name is mud, I guess, because of what he is. What people say the way he's taken baseball. And a lot of things is you could just argue that it's just the free market, and he's only getting he's doing his job. He's getting for his clients the highest amount of money that they can possibly get. So let's start this conversation here, Napper. Do you think Scott Boras is ruining the game of baseball?
No, I don't think he's ruining the game of baseball. There can be arguments made, pro and con, against Scott Boras, and I don't really know which one I fall in. I guess I'm more of a con guy when it comes to Scott Boras, simply because I'm a fan. I go to the ballpark during the summer, and I have to pay higher prices for everything, in part due to Scott Boras and him, the effect of him negotiating these ridiculous contracts for these guys, in turn making the ticket prices higher, the beer prices higher, the parking higher, the hot dogs higher, the programs higher. He has a hand in making all those the costs to the average fan go up. My main pro for Scott Boras is the fact that he's taken the dictatorship, you could say, out of the owner's hands. You go back in the history of the baseball, the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, even until we got to the free agencies in the mid-70s, the owners had totalitarian control over their players. And I don't think that was right. And obviously the free agency, starting in the mid-70s and stuff, the owners don't have total control like they used to have. And in that respect, I think Scott Boras is, I like what he's done because it's taken the power somewhat away from the owners, and I think that's a good thing. But there can be arguments made for and against Scott Boras, and the length of the arguments on either side is quite lengthy.
Well, I would say the thing is that we can even look at it from a minor league standpoint as well. You've got guys who are getting drafted, and who do they want? I mean, a name that we like to mention on the show from time to time, Mike Moustakas. Does that name sound familiar to you at all? I've
heard of him.
You've heard of him? Yeah,
I've heard of him.
We may have mentioned him once or twice. Coming out of high school, and I just was amazed. Out of high school, never played one professional game, and he signs for $4.1 million. Because who's his agent? Scott Boras. You've got guys who've gotten drafted, who are going in the draft, who know they're going to be a top pick by a club, and that and that's not even saying they're going to be the number one pick. They just know they're going to be a club's number one pick, not a number one overall. And they hire Scott Boras or his corporation to represent him because they know it's going to cha-ching. However, there are times where it has backfired. Where, I mean, a perfect example, one of the first times where it really did kind of backfire for Boras was J.D. Drew. When J.D. Drew didn't want to play with the Phillies because they weren't going to give him the amount of money. I don't think Drew wanted to play there anyways. Ended up sitting a year out or playing in the independent league, actually, and then came back into the draft and then eventually signed with the Cardinals for $8 million. So you look at it that way and you go, hey, he's just, like I was saying earlier, he's just doing his job. He's getting the most amount of money for his clients as possible. But like you said, Napper, it really comes back on us. It comes back on the fan, and even on a minor league level, because the minor leagues have turned somewhat into, instead of a best man wins type of a thing, to let's take care of our high-paid players. When you've got a draftee, somebody you draft high, you expect them to perform. Now, I know that hasn't been the case in the Cleveland organization, but you expect them to perform, and you're going to give them every opportunity to succeed. And that may cost somebody else their opportunity to succeed because you were only paying them the league minimum, and I got $4 million invested in this other guy because Scott Boras was his agent, and I had to pay him $4 million to get him in camp. Now I'm going to give that guy the benefit of the doubt because I've got that amount of money invested in him. And I think that's where you may be having the problem. I'm not against anybody getting as much money as they can. I mean, if that's what it is, that's it's a free market, it's competition. But I think the Scott Borases of the world have caused that even in the minor league level. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely, and we've talked about that before. The first-round draft pick that signs a multi-million-dollar signing bonus is of course going to get the benefit of the doubt if they struggle earlier, and say they're competing with a lower-round draft pick that didn't get the multi-million-dollar signing bonus. So yeah, it trickles down in that. But the one thing I wanted to comment on, obviously, Scott Boras started making news in 1997 with the whole J.D. Drew thing. You said it backfired on him. I don't think it backfired on him at all. I think that put Scott Boras on the map. I don't think it backfired for him or J.D. Drew at all. It might have cast Scott Boras in a negative light, but like they say in the entertainment industry, there's no such thing as negative press. It worked out exactly the way Scott Boras and J.D. Drew wanted it to, other than, the when he got drafted in '97, he didn't sign with the Phillies. He played in the Northern League, the Northern Independent League the rest of that summer, and then went back in the draft and got drafted by St. Louis. And I think I read tonight that could have the numbers wrong, but I thought I read that the Phillies wanted to sign him for $3 million. He ended up signing with the. I thought I read that he ended up signing with the Cardinals for $7 million. So that's, double of what he was being offered to begin with. And he didn't, I don't know if it was more the money or the fact that he didn't want to play in Philadelphia, but it worked out twofold for Boras and J.D. Drew. He didn't have to play in Philly, and he got double the money that the Phillies were offering him from the Cardinals. So I don't think it backfired. And like I said before, there's no such thing as bad press. It kind of put Scott Boras on the map a little bit. But of course, it trickles down to the minor leagues. And I don't know if you wanted to touch on this point later. I guess I could kick it off. But maybe what a lot of people don't know is what a recruiter Scott Boras is. He's at college baseball games scouting. He's at high school baseballs scouting and trying to recruit these top, prospects that are going to be high draft picks. He's out there recruiting them, kind of like a college coach would be recruiting them to come to their college. Scott Boras is out there recruiting them